Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Really excited to see you all again. Onward with our Linux journey. And like I mentioned before, this skill is very critical and it served me very well in my career as an engineer. In today's video, we're going to build on ideas and concepts that we've learned in the past. And we're going to learn all about copying directories and copying files today. Now remember, if this is your first time watching the video, make sure you go ahead and check out the description, as there's going to be all the information that you're going to need in order to be up to date up until this point. So if you're not up to date, it can be very easy to get lost. So make sure you check out the description for all the latest information. So without further ado, let's jump into learning all about copying files and copying directories. Hey everyone, welcome back to my desktop. And as you can see here, we have Red Hat Enterprise Linux, specifically RHEL 8 up. And by this point, you should be well along into your Linux journey. And if you haven't gotten up to this point, meaning you don't know what a terminal is, because we're going to go into that in a second, or you don't know how to get access to a copy of RHEL 8, there's going to be a link of my playlist that will talk about how to get you all the way up to this point. Not only will you learn how to get up to this point, but you will also learn some basic commands that we're going to use today. And we are going to build on basic concepts that we've learned in the past, specifically in that Linux playlist. So if you are not familiar with that, again, check out the links. It'll be in the description below. So let's go ahead and launch our terminal. So remember, let's click on activities and we should see our terminal in the left-hand side over here. So let's launch that. And of course, let's make this a little bigger so folks can see. And in this portion, we're going to work with another command, and this is called the CP command. Now, the CP command can be used for either files or directories. It helps us copy those files or copy the directories. So let's take a quick peek at the man page for CP. And we see here it says copy files and directories. And of course, it gives you a bunch of different options that I'll let you read on your own time. So let's quit out of that. So in our case here, let's go back into our directory, meaning our home directory. And let's take a look at what we have here. And of course, we have the myfile.txt that we created before. We have the my directory that we created from our previous example. So now, what if I wanted to work with specifically a file first? Let's work with the myfile.txt. What if I wanted to make a copy of that? Now, in order for this command to work properly, you have to give this command the options and the arguments that it needs. So as an example, if we want to copy the myfile.txt, and let's say we want to make a copy of that, we start off with the command itself, which is cp for copy, any options that we need. So in our particular case, we don't need any options. We can just use the command as is. And then the first argument is, what is the file that we want to copy, which is myfile.txt. Now, the second argument is, where do you want to put the file and what do you want to name the file? And so if you watched our video before about relative path and absolute path, you should already know what I'm going to do in this section when I give this a relative path. So I'm going to go ahead and keep the file in this directory. And by giving it a new name, it automatically knows that we're going to stay in the same directory and we're just going to give this file a new name. So let's call it myfile2.txt. And we hit enter on that. So the command ran successfully. Now let's go ahead and use ls to see what's inside of a directory. And we can see that we have myfile, which was the original one, and also as well myfile2. Hey guys, quick pause. Hopefully you're enjoying the content. If you are enjoying the content and you find that it provides value, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications so you don't miss out when we upload to the channel. Make sure to give me a like for the video as it helps the channel grow. Share the video with a family member or friend so that way they can learn all about engineering, tech, and finances. Also, leave me a comment. Do you guys have any questions on what you learned so far? I would love to hear from you. So let's head back to the content. Now remember, these files are exactly the same copy. And if you remember, I actually put contents inside of the file before we ran this example. So let's take a look at them and see that they are exactly the same. So let's go ahead and cat myfile.txt. And we see here it says hello Acosta E.T.F. Now let's go ahead and cat myfile2. And we also see that it says hello Acosta E.T.F. So these files are exactly the same. Now here's a pro tip for you guys. If you ever want to see if a file is exactly the same, and again, you can play around with this on your own time. This is absolutely not necessary, but just figured I'd give you some extra knowledge for today. You can actually use what's called the MD5 sum, which is a command, in order to calculate the MD5 hash of each file, and then you can compare the two to see if they're the same. So as an example, let's just do MD5 sum, and we do my file.txt. There you can see what its hash is. Now let's do the same command for my file 2. And what do you know? My file and my file 2 have the exact MD5 sum, right? So the MD5 sum is a mathematical computation in order to give you a hash of the file. And if the mathematical computation comes out to be the same, then you know the file is exactly the same without any changes whatsoever. Now we learned how to copy a file. Let's jump into how do we copy a directory. So let's take a look at what's inside of our directory. So we are in our home directory. And as you see here, we have my directory, which is the directory that we created. And we have, you know, quite a couple other directories here: desktop, documents, downloads, music. So let's take a look at what's inside our downloads directory. And we see in our downloads directory, I have two files. I have a .txt called pull-secret, and I have a PEM file called RHEL_key. So what I want to do for copying a directory now is I'm going to use a command in order to copy the downloads directory, but I'm going to copy it and name it something different. So again, we're going to use our CP command. With the CP command, you need the command itself, what options you're going to give it, and also as well, two arguments: the source and the destination. The source and the destination can be an absolute path or it can be a relative path. So in our case here, we're going to do CP and we're going to feed it the option -R. And why do we want to do that? Because -R stands for recursive. So we're going to use the -R because I want to copy the directory and everything inside of the directory. Without that, the copy will actually fail. And we'll take a look at that example. So now that we gave it the -R, we're going to give it the directory, which is going to be the source. So again, we're going to focus with the downloads directory that we just talked about. This is a relative path because it's relative to where we are. And then we're going to give it the destination. And the destination is going to be the current directory, except I am going to call the directory a different name. And we can call it downloads2. So let's go ahead and run this example, and let's do an ls to make sure that that shows up okay. And we see here's our original, and here is our downloads2. Now let's take a look at the example we just did, except this time, let's get rid of the -R for recursive. Let's say we want to call it downloads3. And let's see what happens when we don't give the -R as a recursive option in order to copy a directory. The terminal tells us, hey, the -R was not specified, and it didn't copy the directory downloads properly. And we can go ahead and do an ls. And we can see here, we don't have a downloads3 directory as we were going to call it over here. So just a little fun fact as what options are important and when. So if you don't know how to use those options, again, the manual will tell you what options are necessary when. So go ahead and check that out. So welcome back. By now, you should know everything there is to know about copying files and directories. And you saw a lot of great examples in order to do that. Now keep practicing this skill you just learned. And of course, it seems very difficult at first, but once you get a couple of tries under your belt, it becomes very, very easy and very natural afterwards. Now, if you have any additional questions or something wasn't clear to you, go ahead and leave me a comment in the comment section below. As always, make sure you check out the description. That is where you will find all the latest and greatest information. If you love the video, go ahead and give me a like for the video to make sure you don't miss out on all the things that we talk about when it comes to engineering, tech, and finances. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications so you get notified whenever we upload new videos to the channel. And lastly, share the video with a family member or friend so that way we can kick off their journey and they can learn all things engineering, tech, and finances. So I'll see you guys in the next video.